What's going on, you guys? It's your Huggable Hipster here, and welcome back to Soulsborne Academy. Don't mind the hunter in the corner. They're just here for your protection. In today's episode of Soulsborne Academy, we are going to be going over enemy respawning, the psychology of it. I want to know if there's anyone else who's ever talked about this, because I was looking up and trying to see the psychology of respawning in Souls and Souls-likes, and I couldn't really find anything much on it. So let me know down in the comments below if there's any other content creator who has gone over this, and I would love to be able to know who they are so I can watch their stuff and be able to see another perspective. But let's get into it today. I'm really excited to talk about this concept, this topic. It was really interesting because when I first started getting into Souls games, I played Dark Souls Remastered, and I thought, oh God, the enemies respawn. This is so annoying. But then when I got more and more into it, the years went by and I played it more and more, and I put about 400 plus hours into Bloodborne, I finally realized there's a reason why, a philosophical and psychological reason as to why these enemies are respawning. I'm going to take it back to Bloodborne for a second in the amygdala, right? We have that constant theme that the amygdala, not amygdala, get it right. We have this constant theme of the amygdala going about the game, and it's like, why is it here? Why is it looming about us? Why is it even a boss battle that we have to fight? The amygdala is the part of the brain that is responsible for your fight or flight, is responsible for your emotions, your anger, your fear, your mistrust, everything that has to do with your emotions and with how you behave, and even your dreamscape. So much of how we behave, so much of how we react to certain situations that are crucial on our survival, it relies heavily on the amygdala. This is why the fight or flight response is absolutely so important whenever it comes to Souls and Souls-like games. We have this concept, we have this being, this creature that we have to fight at the end of each level, a boss battle, if you will. So during the entire level, we have these little mini challenges, these little mini things that we have to overcome that respawn every single time we die. Now with the player respawning, it's kind of like being in a lucid dream, if you will. You're in there, and even if you wake up, I don't know if you guys have ever had one of those situations where you wake up out of a dream, and if you're in a deep enough REM state, you can go right back into the dream. And even if you die in a dream, you just wake up the next morning and you go right back into either the same dream or a different one. But when it comes to enemy respawning, I feel like there's such a sole purpose for having the enemies respawn constantly. Now, Dark Souls 2 kind of throws this for a loop, because when we go into Dark Souls 2, after 12 times of beating the same enemy over and over and over again, the enemy just dies. It doesn't show up in that area anymore. Wow, that's really awesome. Totally throws my theory for a loop, but I'm sticking with my theory anyway, because you know what, Dark Souls 2 just throws so many things for a loop that I'll get into in another video. But when it comes to enemy respawning in every other Souls game, each time you go to the bonfire or your resting place in your brain or your amygdala, you kind of restart the area. You say, okay, I'm going to go back into this because there's a challenge that needs to be met that I can't necessarily face in the waking world, so I'm going to face it here instead in a safer, more controlled environment. That's why we have nightmares. That's why we have good dreams. That's why we can fly in certain dreams. That's why certain dreams have different omens in order to teach us certain things for the waking world. Our brain is a very complex piece of machinery, and it's one of those pieces of machinery that fortunately gives us room to grow and to breathe and to maneuver in a safe way that teaches us really just crucial and valuable life lessons. But when it comes to bosses, it's different. In Souls and Souls-like games, you beat the boss, you don't have to fight the boss again. There was a Souls-like game called Returnal, maybe you've heard of it. And in that game, you can actually practice the bosses over and over and over again. And that struck me for such a loop. It was so interesting to see that even after you beat the boss and you continue on with the story, you can go and beat the boss all over again for practice. That's really, really cool. I mean, that was the first time I ever saw something like that. But when you beat the boss, when the enemy is felled, when the soul is vanquished, when everything is taken care of, you don't have to go back to that boss anymore because that challenge is completed. Your brain was like, okay, that's done. Let's move on to the next. Each enemy that you're fighting within the level, if you will, up to the boss is your practice. And And I think that in and of itself is such a life lesson. It's such a teaching moment psychologically for people, not just with Souls titles, but in dream world, sort of, you know, when you face a bully that you haven't faced, you know, in years, and you confront that bully with kindness or in a way that you would have never have thought to confront that bully in high school or in middle school or even in college. There's so many different ways that our brain teaches us certain things. And I feel like that's the same way of what's happening here in a Souls and Souls-like. Whether this is respawning in the world itself up to the boss or the boss itself, the respawning and the dying in a video game teaches the player a lesson. The respawning itself teaches a valuable lesson because each time you go through that section, you get better and you get more prepared for what's to come. So respawning in and of itself, very valuable lesson. When it comes to the amygdala, to go back again to Bloodborne, I feel like that is probably one of the most crucial things that was ever put into a video game because it brings a real world sense to a video game. It shows us that the actions that we have in the dream have real life implications out in the real world. For example, when you see the amygdala, it's all over the game. It is all over Bloodborne. There's no way to escape it. That's because it's always going to be a part of you. It's always going to be a part of your brain. And what's interesting is that we see the amygdala pop up all throughout Bloodborne. We see it as a statue. We see it as an actual boss. We see it as a part of the story of Bloodborne, taking, you know, the hunter to the DLC. There are so many different ways in which the amygdala is incorporated into the world of Bloodborne and into other Souls and Souls-like games. While we see it as an actual physical manifestation in Bloodborne, it is but an idea or a concept in other Souls titles and Souls-likes. We are trudging through and we are practicing through the fight or flight experience when it comes to Souls titles. Because normally in a situation, our brain would be like, I'm not going near a dangerous situation, so self-preservation is key here. Normally, in real life, we try to avoid all those types of bad situations. We don't want to fight. We just want to save face. We don't want to go near any of that. So what happens in a video game? We are forced to confront the things that we normally wouldn't want to in real life. This is why the amygdala plays such a crucial role. This is why Souls titles and Souls-likes are so valuable and so important to the whole social structure of the gaming industry. But you guys, that was it for today's video. If you guys like my face and what I do, please be sure to subscribe and hit that bell down below. I hope you guys enjoy these kinds of conversations. I have so many more planned out for Psychologically Gaming and Soulsborne Academy, where that came from. But if you guys like my face and what I do, please be sure to subscribe and hit that bell down below. I make videos every weekday here on YouTube. May you find your worth in the waking world, your hunter. Stay casually nerdy, and I will see you all in the next video. Ubasa.